Now, though I don't do a tremendous amount of woodworking anymore, in the past we've done a tremendous amount. This is all hardwood flooring that we actually handmade out of sawmill lumber. Here's a little bit of oak window and door trim with the plinth blocks made on a lathe. Tongue and grooved yellow pine both upstairs and downstairs on the west wall, in addition to an oak mantle, one of several that I've actually made. To tongue and grooved red cedar wall covering in our Four Seasons room, and also the same product inside the walk-in closets. Yellow pine tongue and grooved ceiling in the same room, as well as door trim in and out of the closets, and also the Four Season room out of the red cedar. By the way, it's a Four Season room because I installed a Mitsubishi ductless split that's actually a heat pump. And even more wall coverings in the big room. That's hard maple and cherry, all the way with crown molding that goes up to the top. And even some crazy ash wall covering, all tongue and grooved, even on the ends with all the crazy angles. With a wall that's actually trimmed in American elm with a crown molding bit. And even a raised panel American elm laundry chute door, as well as American elm door trim and plinth blocks around an oak door as you exit the bathroom. And though the vast majority of that work was done by just a rudimentary woodworking tools like this old Craftsman table saw and the 3 horsepower Grizzly shaper back there, and also either this bell saw or another Woodmaster planer with molding head, and of course one of the trusty radial arm saws. I got to tell you though, in spite of using all that old stuff, that was new back in the day, mostly. Some of it was used, I picked up here and there. But at any rate, in addition to that stuff, I never, even to this day, do I turn down the opportunity to pick up some more improved, newer tools and machinery. So I'm going to show you today what I just netted yesterday, responding to a quick phone call. So hang in there just a little bit, and we're going to look at some of this stuff. Well, anytime somebody's cleaning up a shop, there's going to be a variety of clamps. And here's Craftsman's version of the RotoZip tool. A lot of times drywallers will use these to go ahead and cut around the switch boxes, but it's brand new. And there's a pretty good 6508 Sawzall, Milwaukee. I've worn out probably 4 or 5 of those over my career. A pretty good complement of blades, a couple of new, mostly used. And here's a little carrying case for a Freud box joint cutter set. Looking at it, it's got a little bit of use on it. There's a set of old style Craftsman non-carbide dado blades. They're in excellent shape, but they are definitely the old versions. And this guy here's a man killer. This is a molding head set. We call him a one-legged jack, donkey. Simply because these things will nab onto a piece if you're using a radial arm saw and sling it to the other end of the shop faster than you can shake a stick at it. These things are definitely killers. And here's a more modern version of a Craftsman dado head. That's carbide, of course, and it's very much more of an update compared to the old guys. And of course, nobody's shop is really complete unless you got some kind of a DeWalt battery tool. Even a couple of old hand saws, a complement of sanding drums for the drill press, and even a Craftsman hand plane. The only good use for it that I've ever found was trimming doors to fit an opening that might be just a little bit tight. And even a Ryobi biscuit cutter, complete in the carrying case and everything. I think it's mid-level. I don't think it's on the level of Freud or anything like that, but this is definitely a good tool. And if you're concerned about what a biscuit joiner is, for those of you that don't really do any woodworking, it's a more modern version of slicing horizontal slices in a half-moon fashion into 2 pieces of wood and gluing a biscuit that actually looks like a football into that slot and connect it. In the old days, we'd have to drill and center up both pieces of wood and glue in dowel pins or something of that nature. This is just a much more modern version. They've been out for 30 years, 40 years though, but they're really kind of handy. Then, of course, there's always going to be the hand planes. This guy here, I believe, is a Stanley. This steer's made in America. Neither one of them are anything to write home about. These other guys are, some of them say USA, and I'm sure some of them are not. This is the only old one here, but it's kind of a off-brand. It's nothing fancy. And, of course, these neat little saws over here. Those are kind of cool. I think the neatest plane in the pile is this German-made, I'm pretty sure they call this a block plane, but I'm not sure. But it's a Steiner. It says original 1859 Steiner, all wooden, of course, except for the metal components, obviously. By the way, this fancy little tool is actually a Sheffield tool. So of the two, this one here is probably the better. For you fellas that weren't aware of what the biscuit cutter is, here's a sample of the biscuit cutters themselves. This is a size 20. They make them in multiple sizes, small ones for little projects to even larger than this. Here's a box with a variety of casters. That's actually pretty cool. All ball bearing, it looks like, and some are fixed, but some are swivel. And here's another unassembled pipe clamp, of course. It says lifetime guaranteed, workman's choice. I don't know where they're manufactured, probably Taiwan, but at least they're heavy. And of course, a nice 6-inch clamp. It's a light duty. And here's a unique strap, I think, for removing something odd shaped with this rubber strap. I've not actually ever seen these before. I guess we'll be able to do an unboxing. Here's a brand new Wilton 3-inch. Looks like it's a bench mount. This still got all that grease like Cosmoline packed around it. Well, Wilton is a very well-known brand for vices, but I do have to report this one here had all the trappings of a China manufacturing, and sure enough, whenever I took it apart and clamped it onto the bench, there is sure enough made in China tag on it. So this is probably even I don't know if it's a knockoff or if they just have a subsidiary making a cheaper vise. I do not know. Well, we're finally getting to some little better stuff. Here's a Craftsman 2 horsepower 1/2-inch collet. It's not a plunge router. It's a newer version of some of my older routers. Much more improved way of increasing and decreasing the depth. Here's a shop-made router stand. And it's got an awesome lifting device for the router. You literally install this crank right down inside here, and you turn the crank and elevate your bit to whatever height that you desire. Now this base is a Rockler base, but the actual base is made by, it's called Master Lift by Jessen. And it obviously is handled by Rockler because Rockler has their stamp on the front of it. But this is a very unique style. I've not ever had the pleasure of using anything quite like this, but it's going to be really nice. And that's coupled to a Makita RF1101 or 1101. It's an 11.1 amp router. Still, it's a very substantial router. But you can take a look right here. When you turn the crank, what that's going to do is that's going to thread this up and down and allow these machine surfaces right here around that huge clamp to raise and lower that router with extreme ease and perfection. Now the Makita actually is a plunge router, and here's the original plunge router base right here. Actually unused, it appears. It's just sitting in the shelf. Well, you can't have a router without some carbide bits. Here's a Raylan style setup here, I believe. There's a big Cove bit. That's going to be a 3/8. That's going to be a 3/8 notching bit. Of course, some smaller ones up here, those are high-speed steel. In addition to those, because this is a 1/2-inch right there, it actually has a 1/2-inch adapter that goes to the 1/4-inch in addition to taking the 1/2-inch bits. And if you look in the lower drawer, you can see your feather boards and everything, for the in feed and out feed of your router table. You've got your push blocks down there. You've got your wrenches for tightening and loosening your router bits and removal. And hey, with no latching mechanism on the door, I already have a place for this guy right here. The original owner actually built this Rockler tabletop out of a set of plans, I think, from Rockler. And it's also fixed for dust collection. Put your shop vac right on there, and you don't have anything to worry about. No mess in the shop. The missus might be happy about that. Well, almost forgot one more box in the bottom of the tote. Yeah, I almost overlooked the Rockler bits. There's a pretty good variety of them here. A couple of them I don't really know what are. Like this guy right here, I'm not sure what that is. Got to investigate that. And then these here are not Rockler. I'm not familiar with this color. There's a few other parts and pieces over here. There's new configurations for the one-legged jack donkey, if you know what I mean. And over here is just a box with a bunch of small 1/4-inch shank, some carbide, some high-speed steel. Well, I guess the point of the story is, to brag a little bit on some of the pretty cool stuff I got in this last deal, but also just to show you, no matter how old you are, things just fall into your lap, or when things come your way, just go ahead and jump on them. Because, I'd much rather have this sitting on my shelf than a couple of bucks still in my pocket. You know what I mean? It just ain't that big a deal. So I hope you enjoyed some of the things that the missus and I have accomplished in the house over the years, with some of the older tools. And with a little bit of luck, I may even get to do a new project with some of this new stuff pretty shortly. Wintertime's right around the corner, and there's always projects coming up. So, you know what? That all having been said, that's pretty much the end of this one here. And there are some other items that I kind of missed, you know what I mean? Just kind of overlooked. But you got the lion's share of them. For now, this is Tractor Man 44, and I'm out of here, guys.